Welcome, welcome, welcome to day 68 of the Free to Hope present the 12 steps applied to COVID-19. To God be the glory for breathing life into you this morning, breathing life into me this morning, waking you up this morning, and waking me up this morning for this happy new day. And the 12 steps are modeled after the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous that's been in existence for over, let me get my little thing, 80 something years, one day at a time. And I do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous, but I've been a proud, grateful, and humble member for almost 31 years. If it's God's will that I live and He breathed life into me on February the 23rd of 2021, we will be celebrating 31 years of learning, embracing, and practicing the 12 spiritual principles one day at a time, right? 31 years. Can you believe it? But guess what? This is day 68 of me being in the process of recovering from COVID-19 with 7 other family members. Yes, day 68. And for that, we are truly grateful. So, FREE stands for From Recovery, Emerge, Empowered to Give Hope to Others, Help Others Prosper Equally. So, by applying the 12 spiritual principles in all my affairs, now I get to share them with you and me to combat COVID-19 and its devastating impact, effect, outcomes, and fatalities. But first, we want to give homage, acknowledgement to our Creator who breathed life into us this morning. We can breathe. In spite of having a mask on, we can breathe. And for that, we should be grateful. And surviving COVID-19, that is all that matters to me, that I can breathe to my fullest capacity. So we want to give Him homage. We also know that there's others who cannot breathe, who will not breathe ever again, who are struggling to breathe. So we want to give homage to those who have transitioned from COVID-19, those who are on the borderline of death, struggling to breathe as a result of COVID-19, those who are suffering through the severe symptoms of COVID-19, those who have recovered and have been restored from COVID-19, those who are intervening on the behalf of others regarding COVID-19, putting their own lives in jeopardy as well as their loved ones. And yet we want to give homage to those who yet do not believe that this COVID-19 is real. We need to acknowledge them too. We are part of one human race. But every culture, every ethnicity, every race across the world simultaneously is dealing with this COVID-19. So therefore, we want to include all human beings in a moment of silence for 30 seconds, giving homage to our Creator and giving homage to the entire human race in battling this COVID-19. But there is a solution, and the solutions are in the 12 steps created by Alcoholics Anonymous and now being applied to COVID-19. So join me for 30 seconds of silence. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of those who can't say thank you, are unable to say thank you or won't say thank you, let me say thank you for joining me for those 30 seconds of silence on their behalf. We do that often in the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. We know the importance of giving homage, right? Of giving recognition, acknowledgement, right? To those forces, those spiritual angels, right? Giving acknowledgement to the universe that breathed life into this body today, your life in this body today, and those in recovery from alcohol, gambling, drugs, sex, lust, those dealing with people in addiction like in Al-Anon, we give homage to them as well. Because through the 12 steps that are spiritual in nature, they all have found the answer to their specific adversity. And that's why we are going to apply the same spiritual principles to battling and decreasing the perpetuation of COVID-19. And so I just want to say thank you again, because this is a new year, a new day, but it's a happy day if we learn, embrace, apply, and practice these 12 spiritual principles no matter what's going on in life. God uses broken, shattered, and wounded people like me and like you to rescue wounded, shattered, and broken people like me and like you. Donald Lawrence says we are not a natural being having a spiritual experience. We are a spiritual being walking and living this natural experience. So we are learning through the 12 recovery principles, to apply the spiritual angle to deal with the physical condition. And that's why I've been blessed. I've been prepared to sit before you to share my experience, my strength, my hope of being a part of a 12-step program that's spiritual in nature, one day at a time, as well as being a survivor of COVID-19. This is day 68 of that presentation, that transition, and this recovery conversation. But if you want to go back to April the 1st, when I first introduced the 12 steps to the world, to anyone who would listen, regarding this COVID-19, as outlined in Dr. Scott T. Allison's article in Psychology Today, on April the 1st, I pushed that go live button because I yield to the Spirit, and it charged me and obligated me to share with you, in agreement with Dr. Allison, how we can benefit from the wisdom of a 12-step program dealing with this COVID-19. And I will share that article with you shortly. All right, so we have a lot to cover this morning. This is day 68. December the 3rd was the first day that I shared with you what COVID-19 looked like on me. As you saw in my opening page, the first picture was me sweating, sick, Yes, on TV, Listen, no dentures, nothing, right? Sick, couldn't hardly breathe. My taste buds were gone. I could hardly smell. My body ached like a toothache. And you will see from December the 3rd up until now, the transition. And so we want to save you the trouble of going through what many of us have gone through, have suffered through, who have lost loved ones to COVID-19, who are feeling guilt, remorse, regrets, the if I coulda, woulda, shoulda. Could they have done differently to save their lives or to save the lives of their loved ones? Yes. If you talk to individuals like that, which I will be bringing on, Dr. Cornell Brunson, Pastor D, they just lost their sister from COVID-19. Him and his sister were both in the hospital at the same time. He survived and she didn't. And like he said, I am taking this thing seriously, and so am I, and we want you to do the same thing. So when we ask you to take the simple suggestions of the CDC regarding the past, present, and future updates, to keep taking those suggestions, right? In spite of what we're doing in the proactive mode, but we want to stay in the proactive mode so we can prevent more deaths, more illnesses associated with COVID-19, wearing a mask, washing your hands, social distancing, not going out in public if you don't have to. Definitely not having family gatherings with those who are not and have not been a part of your immediate environment. No. And just as important, if not more important, is taking the vaccine shot. And I will share with you how I lead by example, lead by attraction, by wearing my mask, applying these 12 spiritual principles to COVID-19, and practicing the CDC's recommendation and being vaccinated, right? So let me share with you what that looked like. I'm going to go here and I'm going to retrieve the video of me being vaccinated, and you will see that I got it Saturday. What today is? What is today? Today is Thursday, and I want to be able to show you the environment. Canaan Baptist Church is the one that helped me be aware of the vaccination. Robert Daniels, who contacted me and said, Edwina, I dreamt about you last night. And we talked about the dream, but he said, I got vaccinated. Did you? And did you know? And guess what? That was what I needed to go and get vaccinated, right? Because I had been thinking about it. I had those ideas, attitudes, and behaviors that was negative, like many of us do about the vaccine, right? Based on our history, our culture. But guess what? I yield to the Spirit, and I went and got that vaccination shot to save my life, and more importantly, to save the lives of my loved ones. So here is me getting vaccinated. Woo! Let me start it again.
All right, here we go, my daughter. Got it? All righty, put your Band-Aid on. We'll watch you for about 15 minutes. Okay. And then we'll check on you and we'll give you a date. In about a month, we'll call you. How about that?
In a month?
Yeah. All right, that's 28 days.
All righty. Can you take a still shot next to the doctor? So you see, I'm leading by example. So I got my vaccination shot, and my arm don't hurt as much, but it did hurt for a few 24 hours, right? But that's okay, because during my addiction, I got other kind of shots to address the STDs that I contracted. Listen, if that needle's going to save my life or prevent me from experiencing the severity of COVID-19 symptoms, I'm taking it, and I suggest you do too, okay? So I wanted to share that with you. I also want to get into our presentation this morning because I shared with you how it is important for me to share with you the source of my information. And I mentioned to you about Dr. Scott T. Allison. And so we are going to share that with you now. And as you can see, we are going to put that on the screen. And we are going to go through it, but one moment at a time. So let me get that on the screen. All right, and let's go back to the original page. All right. Now, on March the 3rd, before I do that, oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you, thank you, thank you. See, the God is my sponsor. He's my first sponsor. And I want to emphasize why I am soliciting and advertising and promoting my sponsors. One, because God, the creator of it all, is my first sponsor, definitely, right? And then the free to hope is what the Spirit gave me over a year ago. Free stands for from recovery, emerge, empowered to give hope to others, help others prosper equally. Now formed as an LLC, right? Another Spirit, the same, well, I guess I yield to the Spirit as well, and creating the Women Do Hall transportation services, right? And people with the substance abuse and mental illness, sometimes we can't find jobs. Sometimes we have a hard time with interviews and interviewing, right? So we often create organizations to help our own. So Women Do Haul Transportation Services, now the LLC, is one of my sponsors, right? If you saw my haircut, right? My haircut was done by Mr. C's Barbershop. Mark Cooper has been doing my hair for 30 years. He's located in Wilmington, Delaware, and he has been my barber. He is also one of my sponsors. My attire that I often wear is from Morgan's of Delaware in Wilmington, Delaware. And Lady T is responsible for the African related attire, and she's at Morgan's of Delaware as well. And so they are my sponsors. And the last one is Divine Light. It's a recovery treatment program that provides supportive housing for their clients, but more importantly, they align with my theme. When Dr. Carl Jung, Dr. Bob, and Bill W. said, with alcoholics, y'all need divine intervention, y'all need divine providence, and God hooked me up with Divine Light years ago. They are established in Philadelphia, Baltimore, and now here in Wilmington. So now we can go to the next slide and talk about what I've been sharing with you, where I got that information about Dr. Scott T. Allison. Al-Anon approach using the 12 steps. Please go and retrieve his article. That's in Psychology Today, back on March the 31st of 2020, where he outlines 7 points. Letting go of control, patience, keeping the focus on oneself, trust, living in the present, social connections, and service to others. So please go to Dr. Scott T. Allison's article in Psychology Today to read how he used the Al-Anon 12-step program, the same 12-step approach to combating COVID-19 back then for April of 2020, when we had the first request to lock down, if you will. All right. Also, I want to introduce you once again to the steps that we're talking about. And we know that the 12-step program usually is applied to Alcoholics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Lust Anonymous, right? Al-Anon Anonymous, but now we're going to have a COVID-19 Anonymous, okay? And apply these same spiritual principles to COVID-19. 1, we admitted we were powerless over COVID-19, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Soundness of mind, that's all that means regarding COVID-19. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him regarding COVID-19. 4, made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves regarding COVID-19. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs regarding COVID-19. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character regarding COVID-19. And we have 7, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings regarding COVID-19. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all regarding COVID-19. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others or even you regarding COVID-19. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it regarding COVID-19. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry it out regarding COVID-19. And 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others regarding COVID-19 and practice these principles in all our affairs. So, you see that when we apply the same spiritual principles to COVID-19, that the same relief, the same spiritual angle, the same spiritual transformation, the obtaining of a psychic change of our old and present attitudes, ideas, and behaviors to more of those that are based on the spiritual realm, we can provide the solution to stopping the perpetuation of COVID-19. Now, our focus has been on recovery principle number 5, and we are going to continue with that. But I just want to share with you my resources. Now, the other resource that I use is Jason Waller, as you know, and the reason why I keep repeating and going over the same thing with the overview, the synopsis, the summary is because guess what? Many people hear, but they don't listen. And our goal through this conversation is to listen, because listening implies action. All right. So let me take this off for a minute and continue with our presentation. All right. So let's go up here. Jason Waller, JASON WAHLER, is the outline I use in breaking down the 12 spiritual principles. And we are on spiritual principle number 5. So let's go back and review that before we go on. And we will, let's see, put that up here. Okay. And it says, admitted to God as you understand him, her, or force. We don't, in the 12-step program, don't ask you to believe in anything, right? To admit to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. We also know the word admit means to confess to be true or to be the case of typically with reluctance. We can all identify with that. And some of the questions that are going to be posed that we are going to look at from Jason Waller's perspective. What do you believe is the importance of admitting your wrongs to another human being? What do you think will be the benefit for these disclosure? How do you decide to whom to share this information with? And how does one get to the exact nature? And so we have been talking about that, and we have been discussing that through the foundation that Jason Waller uses in terms of breaking it down, breaking the cycle, getting to the reasons why we should do the 5th step, the benefits of doing the 5th step, in reality, the benefit of doing all of the steps, right? Okay, so we want to continue with the presentation of number 5. So let's go to our next example, and let's discuss this even more. So remember when we did recovery principle number 4, where we made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves? And again, I always use myself as an example. And so what I shared with you in my 5th step in Alcoholics Anonymous, one of the first character defects that most of us are encouraged to deal with is resentment. And so when I broke down my resentment of a list and what it included, I came up with this. I had a resentment against family members, right? And so they should say COVID-19, right? But with the COVID-19, I replaced my family member with COVID-19. So I had a resentment against COVID-19. Why? Because it creates uncertainty. What feelings did it generate? Feelings of anger, anxiety, fear, confusion. How did it affect me? It affected my entire existence, right? The part that I played in it, I was just an innocent victim, okay? One of the resentments I also had was against myself. Why? Because I took COVID-19 for granted. I was defiant. I was rebellious, all right? What feelings did I have? Feelings of stupidity, anger, and grief. And how did it affect me? It affected me and members of my family aged 2 to 78. And what part did I play in it? I did not heed to all the suggestions of COVID-19. All right, so let's go to the next slide where we will get to the exact nature of that resentment and those things that I evaluated to see how we can apply the fifth step to COVID-19. All right. So we shared yesterday that the resentment of COVID-19, getting to the exact nature. All right. I identified feelings of anger, right? But when I dug a little deeper, when I went beneath the water to that iceberg, when I went to the width and the depth and the core of that iceberg, I know that anger, of the character defect of resentment, was camouflaged initially by anger, right? And then that anger was masked by uncertainty. And I dug a little deeper, that uncertainty was masked by confusion. And then under that confusion, it was masked by frustration. And under that came disbelief. And when I got to the core of that character defect, when I got to the core of what I was really, really, really feeling, when I got to the exact nature, it was fear. It was fear. Fear. Fear created, those feelings that I described above that were used as a camouflage. Instead of me saying in the beginning, I'm afraid, I am fearful of what this COVID-19 is about, what it's going to do. I'm afraid, I have fear. That's the exact nature. And so when we are in our 12 step program and we are getting to the exact nature, and by sharing it with another human being, this is how we get to the exact nature. We keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper till we can't go any further, and we'll recognize that fear is the exact nature of a lot of character defects. Yes, fear of uncertainty, fear of I'm going to live or am I going to die, fear of contracting it, fear of infecting my family, fear. And so when we get to the exact nature, then we have been able to be set free from recovery, emerge empowered so that we can give hope to others, and definitely we can get the help that's needed. But until we get to the exact nature, it is still being camouflaged and masked by other things. So no, we need to get to the exact nature. And I shared with you yesterday that I had a resentment against myself. Look at this, right? I contributed to contracting COVID-19, and I had a resentment against myself. And that resentment was camouflaged initially by stupidity. Edwina, what was you thinking? Edwina, why did you keep your mask on? Edwina, why did you take it for granted? I felt stupidity. Was resentment was masked by stupidity. That's why I got a resentment against myself. When I dug a little deeper, I realized that stupidity was camouflaged by being defiant, right? And being rebellious, right? And when I dug a little deeper, I found out that defiance and that rebellion and that stupidity of that resentment was masked by selfishness. I didn't want to wear a mask if I didn't choose to. I didn't want to have to wash my hands when y'all told me to. I didn't want to have to let you tell me where I can't go. Selfish. I dug a little deeper, and it was revealed that it was masked by self-centeredness. It was more important to concentrate on me and not the effect that I may have on other people, particularly my loved ones. Self-centeredness. And of course, after contributing to contracting COVID-19 and infecting my family members, especially my grandchildren, the little one that was 2 years old, oh boy, did I have regret, did I have remorse, huh? And when I dug real deep of my resentment against myself, I was afraid. I had fear of myself that I could not consistently, continually do what was asked of me, right? I had fear that I would fall short. I had fear that I wouldn't measure up. I had fear that I could not for the rest of my life. So I'm thinking I had fear. And what we say in a 12-step program regarding fear, for us to succumb to it in a negative way, we forget everything and we run. We forget everything and we become defiant. We become rebellious. We forget everything and still remain in denial, right? That's what fear does. Fear of not getting, fear of not measuring up, fear of not being accepted, fear of not having a sense of belonging, having that feeling of invincibility. What? Being invincible, No. When we use fear in a negative way, it basically says forget everything and run. No. I couldn't run from my alcoholism, my addiction, and all that stuff. I had to give a different, positive approach to the word fear. And it says in our 12-step program, no, fear means face everything and recover. Face everything and restore. Face everything and rebuild. Face everything and restart. Face everything and rejoice. Face everything and recover. So when we find out the exact nature of fear, we don't have to use what we've been using by saying forget everything and run. No, we look fear right in the face, but from a positive and spiritual angle, and we're going to face everything and we're going to recover. No longer running, no longer hiding. If I did not apply that spiritual angle, that positive affirmation to fear over 30 plus years ago, I would not be sitting here drug-free, alcohol-free, prostitution-free, and everything that goes with it, right? I would not be sitting here. Those times that I was in my recovery process and met challenges of contracting STDs and had to get needles because during my addiction I didn't go to the doctor, facing cancer in recovery as a result of the STDs that created cancer in me. After, dealing with a husband who was dying of cancer, I was diagnosed with cancer because of that STD, right? My brother who I turned on the crack tried to commit suicide. I could have used that negative acronym and forget everything and run and go back to getting high. Oh, hell no. No. They told me to face everything and recover. And the same thing applies to this COVID-19. I am no longer in denial. I am no longer taking it for granted. Why? Because I saw it, I heard it, but I didn't listen until it affected me and my family. I don't know what it is, about having to get our own experience, but they say a smart person learns from their experience, but a wise person learns from their experience as well as the experiences of others. So that's why I'm sharing my experience, my strength, my hope, my wisdom, my lack of wisdom, my bad choices, my bad decisions regarding how I contributed to contracting COVID-19. I could not save myself. I could not save my loved ones. No, I couldn't. Can you imagine how so many other people are feeling who've lost loved ones? And how they are regretting what they did, what they said, how they didn't wear the mask. Can you imagine? Talk to them. I'm going to invite some of them on. Maybe you from Missouri. Maybe you need to hear from the horse's mouth. Oh my God, we as human beings get ourselves into a lot of situations, and it's only through that knee-bowing experience that all of us as a human race is experiencing now. And the world is crying out for help to this creator who knows the beginning, the middle, and the end of this COVID-19. Yes. So admitting to God, to ourselves, and to another human being, the exact nature of why I was so rebellious, why I was so defiant, why I did not take COVID-19 seriously. What was the exact nature of all that? It was fear. Let's continue. I tell you, boy. All right, so we learned to face everything and recover. So let's go on to the questions that are posed by Jason Waller to get us in touch with getting to the exact nature. All right, so yesterday we went in detail about question 1 of Jason Waller's 5th step questions, and so we're replacing the area of alcohol with COVID-19. And so if you need to go back to yesterday's breakdown of answering this question, please do. All right. So we posed a question in 3 parts to you, to me, right? And asking you regarding this 5th step, how long have I been living alone with secrets and wrongs? And so when we outlined that character defect of resentment and we broke it down, how long have you been living with those secrets that you've been concealing for a long, long time and the wrongs that you have done? Well, the 5th step will give you an opportunity to reveal them, to be set free. How do I feel about admitting our wrongs to another person? Initially, that feeling is of shame, of embarrassment. But when you keep digging deep and when you pose these questions, you will see the importance and the relevance of admitting it to another person to help us get to the exact nature. We can't do it on our own. God already knows, we already know, but we have a way of justifying and rationalizing some of the most outrageous nonsense. But doing it with another person can help set us free and help us get to the exact nature. And then we also shared, you ready to share and let go of anything that hinders your acceptance and your responsibilities regarding COVID-19? Are you ready? Are you ready to share that? And are you ready to let go of any hindrance so you can be set free to give hope to others? All right. So go back to my previous podcast and listen more to how we dissected that first question. So let's go to the second question of Jason Waller. Okay, so if you want to see the breakdown, if you want to see the foundation, the preparation of doing the fifth step, and posing these questions to help you want to do the fifth step, want you to be set free, want to give hope to others. These are some of the questions we are posing so that we can generate that excitement, to obtain that freedom, no matter how painful, no matter how uncomfortable, face everything and recover and not forget everything and run and still be sick. Okay, so the second question posed by Jason Wallace says, what reservations do I have what reservations do I have? It should say about working my fifth step, okay? So, what reservations do I have about working my fifth step? So, let me give you an example of how I applied that question that Jason Waller just posed to my disease of alcoholism. What reservations do I have about working my fifth step? Well, it takes me back to recovery principle number 1, where I admitted I was powerless over alcohol and my life had become unmanageable. But if you go back into my presentations and our conversations, right, you will hear my story of how I had reservations initially about this thing called recovery. How at the age of 34, I'm not going to get high off of something. How am I not going to drink at a funeral, at a baby shower, at a party? Are you kidding? I got to get a high off of something. And when going my history and sharing my pattern with my therapeutic team, I admitted, and it was shown in my behavior based on my decisions and my choices, that I had reservations about getting clean and staying clean, getting sober and staying sober. Because every time I went into rehab for crack cocaine, I celebrated my recovery from crack with alcohol. That was a reservation. Every time that I went to rehab again and celebrated my recovery again from crack cocaine, I celebrated again with alcohol. That's a reservation. So what I'm saying to you is I had to pray to my God, who I was still learning about, to remove all reservations from me. And to remove the idea of substituting one drug for another, because every time I drank alcohol, it took me back to crack. So I needed to pray for that reservation to be removed. I had to pray for that reservation of wanting to get high at a birthday party or a funeral. I had to pray for the reservation to be removed. And so when I'm applying the fifth step to COVID-19, based on my previous experience of not applying it, which is why I contributed to contracting COVID-19, I had reservations that it's going to happen to those people. It's them, right? I had to continue to, I had reservations of not being able to wear my mask. Well, guess what? All those masks came off. You go back to December the 3rd and you'll see how I look with COVID-19. And for the last 30 plus years, I have been practicing taking off the mask of lust, of envy, of manipulation, of defiance, of rebellious. You see, practicing is the key word. Practicing. And so each time situations come about to measure how far I have come in my spiritual angle in dealing with these physical conditions. And so Even with COVID-19, I had to get rid of those reservations of wanting to be seen, wanting to be noticed. What? And wanting to die? Oh, hell no. After contracting COVID-19 and seeing my family members go through it, you better believe I ain't got no reservations. I'm going to do what the CDC says. I'm going to do my research. I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to wear my mask. I'm going to social distancing, right? I'm not going out to public places where I don't need to go. And I got the vaccine shot, at least the first one. So now that I'm applying what I didn't apply before I contracted COVID-19, I'm applying it now so that I can decrease the possibility of contracting it again and infecting my family members and even you. So let me ask you, what reservations do you have about working your fifth step? Don't you want to get to the exact nature of why you are being resistant? Why you are being rebellious? Don't you want to get to the exact nature of why you have that attitude of being invincible? Don't you want to get to the exact nature why you're so egotistical, prideful? And I'm talking about regarding COVID-19, not all the other stuff, just COVID-19. Don't you want to get to the exact nature so that you can contribute to saving your life and saving the lives of others? That's why we need to get rid of the reservations, and I'm posing to you, what reservations do you have right now, right this second, that prevents you from taking COVID-19 seriously, that prevents you from doing the simple suggestions that are offered? What is it? I'm not saying nothing's wrong with you. We need to find out what happened to you. So when we identify those character defects and talking with another person, we can get to the exact nature. So that we don't have to forget everything and run. We can face everything and recover, even COVID-19. And we know the vaccine only decreases the severity of the symptoms of COVID-19, decrease the possibility of you being hospitalized from COVID-19, and decrease the possibility of you dying from COVID-19. So do your own history. And for those African Americans out there or around the world or whoever, who got a problem with the white and the black and this and that, the vaccine was created by an African American woman out of, I believe, South Carolina. So do your own history, do your own research. And more importantly, let these steps offer you the spiritual transformation to stop looking at a physical condition when we can look at it, deal with it, but from a spiritual angle. That's the reason for the 12 spiritual principles. So if you have any reservations, pray that they be removed to whoever your higher power is, knowing that it's not you and it definitely ain't me. And if you need somebody to do your fifth step with, I'm available. My email is down there. My phone number is going to be shown. I know what confidentiality means, but I also know the freedom that you can get from exposing those defects and getting to the exact nature. Okay? So let's go to the next question. All right. We are getting through some of this stuff. All right. So let's go here. All right. So now listen to this question. Okay. It says, this is Jason Waller's third question, and it's probably be the last one we do this conversation. Okay. So question 3 of Jason Waller's 5th step is, can I acknowledge and accept the exact nature of my wrongs? Can you acknowledge and accept the exact nature of my or your wrongs? Huh? Look at that word. Can I acknowledge? Marinate on that word. Can you acknowledge and accept the exact nature of our wrongs? So when we see that the resentment was a character defect, right? And the resentment was masked by anger, frustration, right? Masked by confusion, masked by anxiety, right? Yes. Getting to the exact nature. So we go down, deeper and deeper to the core of that iceberg, of that character defect, and majority of our character defects, the exact nature is fear. So when we acknowledge that fear is real, even though it says our Creator didn't give us a spirit of fear, huh? But we have to learn. We have to go through the process of understanding what that means from a spiritual angle. So in the meantime, we are dealing with it from a physical angle. So yes, it's based in fear. Fear. And when we look at things from a physical angle and we look at fear from a physical angle, we tend to run. We tend to hide. We tend to ignore. We don't want to acknowledge that we have fear. No, it says that we're weak. We got to man up. No. And that's because we're looking at it from a physical angle. And that's why in the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous, no, we had to challenge that right away. It took a process by doing steps 1 through 4, but when we did our inventory of all those character defects, and when we did our 5th step, we got to the exact nature of why we picked up a drink in the first place. They say that the drink, the alcohol, the drugs, the shopping, the working, the lusting, right? Is a manifestation of deeper inner issues. So if we learn to acknowledge the exact nature of those defects, we won't pick up that drink or drug. And the same thing applies to COVID-19. If we acknowledge our physical fear, utilize these 12 spiritual principles, specifically with 5, and talking to another human being to help us get to the exact nature, so I can acknowledge and accept it. Do you hear me? I had to accept the fact that when I did my 5th step regarding alcohol, drugs and the whole lifestyle and all that, right? I had to accept what I found out about me. Was it easy? No. Was it uncomfortable? Yes. But did it set me free? Yes, it did. Because I found out what happened to me, not what I thought was wrong with me. When we do these 12 spiritual principles, because as alcoholics and drug addicts, I'm telling you, oftentimes people will say, Edwina, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, Edwina? And I have to say, Edwina, what's wrong with me? Why can't I stop drinking? Why can't I stop drugging? Why? What's wrong with me? But Dr. Alvin Turner, a psychoanalyst, when I interviewed him on my TV show, he said, Edwina, we asked the wrong question. The question should be, what happened to you? What happened to us to formulate those attitudes, ideas, and behaviors, choices, and decisions? What happened? And so when we do our fifth step and we get to the exact nature that's based on fear, but from a physical angle, right? We will see that we need to face fear in its face, right? So that means fear needs to have a positive meaning, a spiritual meaning, where it says in our 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that we need to apply to COVID-19 Anonymous, face everything and recover. Because now we are looking to deal with all physical conditions from a spiritual angle, a spiritual approach, so that we can get that spiritual relief that we are seeking. So face everything and recover. Okay. All right, let's see what else it says. It says, so once I acknowledge and once I accept, right? Once I acknowledge and once I accept the exact nature of my wrongs. Can I acknowledge and accept the exact nature of my wrongs? So when I go back in that fourth inventory and find out what happened to me, to formulate that attitude of being defiant, to formulate that attitude of being rebellious, to formulate that attitude of having a sense of being invincible, what happened? What situation? What circumstances? Who was involved? What happened? So once we find out what happened, we acknowledge it, we accept it, and we get to the exact nature of it. And so once we answer these questions, you should be even more excited about doing your fifth step. Because 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day is not promised to nobody. Nobody. So we don't have time to put things off. I don't know how many lives, that are reported. There are many more that are not reported. And when that gentleman said we need to look at COVID-19 like a shotgun, standing before you ready to shoot you and your loved ones, how much would you do to protect yourself and your family? Well, change the perspective and use COVID-19 as that shotgun. Are you willing to, wash your hands now, social distance, put on that mask, take the vaccine shot? You should be, to save yourself and to save your family. So acknowledge, accept the exact nature of those attitudes, ideas, and behaviors that keep you stuck, keep you in denial of the reality of COVID-19, but also know that there is a solution. And they are in the 12 steps produced by Alcoholics Anonymous. So the question is, are you in the prevention, intervention, or restoration mode of COVID-19? Are you being proactive, reactive, inactive, or responsible regarding COVID-19? We're going to stop here and we're going to say, if it's God's will, that he breathe life into you and to me tomorrow, that we'll be reunited for day 69 to continue how to apply the 12 steps that are spiritual in nature to COVID-19. In the meantime, be safe. Go back to April the 1st of 2020 to see the start of this podcast, or go to December the 3rd to see how I was affected with COVID-19, to be brought up to date as we continue to trudge ahead to being set free from recovery, emerge empowered to give hope to others. At this time, I want to acknowledge once again my sponsors, and I also want to say that it is all about being prepared, right? And when you have been prepared for something, it can happen. It can happen. So as we close, I like to thank my sponsors. And if you want to be a sponsor, because this information, of course, is free to the public, but sponsors are welcome to support our cause, to advertise their business. You can Cash App $free to Hope. And for more details, email me or contact me at the information noted below. God bless you, and be safe, be safe, be safe.
I think I got some.
I got it. All right, here we go, my dog. Got it? You're not my friend.